The Galactic Summit on Nexus Station was the biggest event in 100 years. Ships from every corner of the known universe had come to this place. The station floated in empty space, far from any planet or star. It was neutral ground, a place where old enemies could meet without fear. Daniel Hayes stood near the main entrance of the Grand Assembly Hall. He wore the dark blue uniform of the Terran Defense Corps. His job was simple: protect Ambassador Catherine Price, watch for danger, stay alert. He had been a soldier for 15 years. He had fought in border wars and defended human colonies from raiders. But this was different. This was politics. And politics, his commander had told him, was more dangerous than any battlefield. The hall was massive. The ceiling rose so high that clouds could form inside. Thousands of beings filled the space. Daniel saw creatures with scales and creatures with feathers. He saw beings made of light and beings made of shadow. He saw things that had no shape at all. Humanity was new to this game. 300 years ago, humans had still been stuck on Earth. They had looked at the stars and dreamed of reaching them. Now they walked among species that had been traveling between worlds when humans were still living in caves. Daniel did not feel small. He felt proud. His people had clawed their way to the stars with nothing but determination and stubbornness. They had earned their place here. The Terran delegation stood near the center of the hall. Ambassador Price was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had spent her whole life preparing for moments like this. She spoke softly to her advisors while Daniel and the other guards kept watch. A horn sounded. The crowd grew quiet. The Sangori had arrived. Daniel had read about them in training. The Sangori were one of the oldest species in the galaxy. They had ruled their part of space for 10,000 years. They were vampires. Not the silly monsters from old Earth stories, but something far more terrifying. They drank blood. They lived forever. They could move faster than the eye could follow. And they did not like younger species. The doors at the far end of the hall opened. The Sangori delegation entered. There were 20 of them. They wore robes of red and black. Their skin was pale, almost white. Their movements were smooth and graceful, like water flowing over stones. Every step they took was perfect. At the front of the group walked a woman. She was tall and slender. Her hair was black as space itself, falling past her shoulders like a dark waterfall. Her eyes were silver, bright and cold, like distant stars. Daniel knew who she was. Princess Liana Verthale, daughter of the High Blood King. She was over 800 years old. She had seen empires rise and fall. She had watched species be born and die. She was beautiful. Daniel could not deny that. But it was the beauty of a knife, sharp and dangerous. The Sangori walked through the crowd. Other species moved out of their way. No one wanted to get too close. Even the ancient races treated the vampires with respect. Or maybe it was fear. Princess Liana led her delegation toward their assigned section. Her silver eyes swept across the room, taking in everything. Her face showed no emotion. She looked bored, like she had seen all of this 1,000 times before. Then something changed. Daniel saw it happen. He would remember this moment for the rest of his life. Princess Liana stopped walking. Her body went stiff. Her nostrils flared. Her silver eyes widened. The other Sangori stopped behind her. They looked confused. One of them, an older male with white hair, leaned close and whispered something. Liana did not respond. She was staring directly at Daniel. He felt her gaze like a physical weight. It pressed against him. It held him in place. He wanted to look away, but he could not move. What was happening? Why was she looking at him like that? Daniel was nobody special. He was just a soldier, a guard, one of a dozen humans in the room. There was nothing remarkable about him, but the way she was looking at him said otherwise. Her lips parted slightly. For just a moment, Daniel saw her fangs. They were sharp and white. Then she closed her mouth again. She started walking toward him. The crowd parted before her. Other species scrambled to get out of her way. Her delegation followed, but they kept their distance. They seemed as confused as everyone else. Daniel's hand moved toward his weapon. It was instinct. Years of training taking over. "Easy," Ambassador Price said softly beside him. "Do not draw your weapon. That would be an incident." Daniel forced his hand away from his gun, but his heart was pounding. Every instinct told him that a predator was approaching. Princess Liana stopped 3 feet in front of him. She was taller than he expected. Her silver eyes studied his face like she was reading a book. "What is your name?" she asked, and her voice was cold and clear. It was the voice of someone who had never needed to shout. Someone who knew that others would always listen. "Commander Daniel Hayes," he said. "Terran Defense Corps." Something flickered in her eyes. Recognition? Surprise? He could not tell. "Hayes," she repeated. The word seemed to mean something to her. "Your family. Where do they come from?" Daniel frowned. This was strange. Why would a vampire princess care about his family? "Kansas," he said. "North America, Earth. My family has lived there for generations." Liana was quiet for a long moment. She breathed in deeply, like she was trying to memorize his scent. Her pale hands trembled slightly at her sides. "Do you know a man named Samuel Hayes?" she asked. Daniel blinked. The question made no sense. "Samuel Hayes was my ancestor. He lived almost 400 years ago. He was a farmer. He died before humanity even left Earth." Liana closed her eyes. When she opened them again, they were wet. Daniel had not known vampires could cry. "He saved my life," she whispered. "And you smell exactly like him." The words hung in the air between them. Daniel did not understand. How could his ancestor have saved a vampire princess? How could she remember a man who had been dead for centuries? Ambassador Price stepped forward. "Princess Liana, perhaps we could discuss this in private." Liana did not look at her. She kept her eyes fixed on Daniel. 216 years ago, she said, "I was dying in a field on your planet. Your ancestor found me. He did not run. He did not kill me. He gave me his own blood to save my life." She reached out and touched Daniel's face. Her fingers were cold, but gentle. "I have lived for 800 years, she said. "I have met millions of beings, but I have never forgotten Samuel Hayes. I never could." Daniel stood frozen. He did not know what to say. He did not know what to think. Behind Liana, the other Sangari watched with shocked expressions. The older male with white hair looked like he had seen a ghost. "My princess," he said carefully, "perhaps this is not the place." Liana lowered her hand. She took a step back, but her eyes never left Daniel's face. "You are right," she said. "We will speak later, Commander Hayes. There is much you need to know." She turned and walked away. Her delegation followed, whispering among themselves. Daniel let out a breath he did not know he had been holding. "What just happened?" he asked. Ambassador Price shook her head slowly. "I do not know, but I think your life just became very complicated." Daniel watched the vampire princess take her place across the hall. She sat in her chair like a queen on a throne. But every few seconds, her silver eyes would drift back to him. She was watching him, studying him, remembering Dot, and Daniel had a feeling that whatever had started today was far from over. The summit continued for hours. Speeches were made. Deals were discussed. But Daniel could not focus on any of it. His mind kept returning to the vampire princess and her strange words. His ancestor had saved her life. A simple farmer from Kansas had given his blood to an alien vampire. It sounded like a story, a fairy tale. But the look in Liana's eyes had been real. The tears had been real. When the first day of the summit ended, Ambassador Price called Daniel to her private quarters. "Sit down," she said. "We need to talk." Daniel sat in a chair across from her desk. The ambassador looked tired. The weight of the day showed on her face. "I made some calls," she said. "I contacted Earth, asked them to check the old records about your family, and Samuel Hayes, born 1802, died 1847. He was a farmer in eastern Kansas. Lived alone most of his life. Never married. Never had children of his own." Daniel frowned. "Then how am I related to him?" His brother had children. The Hayes family continued through that line. "You are descended from Samuel's nephew. So the princess has been tracking my family for 200 years? Ambassador Price leaned back in her chair. "It seems that way. The Sangori do not forget. Their memories are perfect. If Samuel Hayes made an impression on her, she would remember every detail." There was a knock at the door. An aide entered and whispered something to the ambassador. Her eyes widened. "Send her in," she said. The door opened again. Princess Liana walked into the room. She had changed her robes. Now she wore something simpler, a dark dress without decoration. She looked less like royalty and more like a person. "Ambassador Price," she said. "Commander Hayes, thank you for seeing me." Daniel stood. He was not sure if he should bow or salute. He did neither. Liana looked at him. "Please sit. I am not here as a princess tonight. I am here to explain." She took a seat near the window. The stars outside cast pale light across her face. 216 years ago, she began, I was young and foolish. By Sangori's standards, I was barely more than a child. I wanted to see the universe. I wanted to explore. My father forbade me to travel alone, so I did it in secret. She paused. Her silver eyes grew distant, like she was looking at something far away. "I came to Earth. Your species interested me. You were so young, so fragile, but you burned with such fire. I wanted to understand you. What happened?" Daniel asked. "I was careless. A rival clan had been watching me. They followed me to Earth. They attacked me in a field of wheat. They wanted to kill me and blame it on the humans. It would have given them an excuse to destroy your species." Her hands tightened in her lap. "They left me for dead. They thought I would burn when the sun rose. But your ancestor found me before dawn." Liana smiled. It was a sad smile, full of old memories. Samuel Hayes was coming home from town. He saw something in his field. He thought it was an injured animal. When he got closer, he saw what I really was. "He must have been terrified," Daniel said. "He was. I could smell his fear. But he did not run. He knelt beside me and asked if I was hurt." She laughed softly. "I told him I was a monster. I told him I drank blood. I showed him my fangs. I thought he would scream and run away, but he did not. No, he looked at me with those kind eyes and said, 'Well, monster or not, you seem like you need help.' Then he picked me up and carried me to his barn." Daniel tried to imagine it. His ancestor, a simple farmer, carrying a wounded vampire through the night. It seemed impossible. "I needed blood to heal," Liana continued. "Without it, I would die when the sun rose." Samuel understood this. He rolled up his sleeve and offered me his wrist. "He let you feed on him?" "He did more than let me. He insisted. He said everyone deserved a chance to live. Even monsters." She touched her lips, remembering. "I drank from him. Not enough to hurt him, though the hunger screamed at me to take more. His blood was warm and sweet. It tasted like sunshine and growing things. It tasted like life." Liana looked at Daniel. Her silver eyes were bright with emotion. I stayed in his barn for 3 days while I healed. Samuel brought me food and water. He talked to me for hours. He told me about his life, his dreams, his fears. He treated me like a person, not a monster. Why? Daniel asked. Why would he do that? I asked him the same thing. He said that his mother had taught him to judge people by their actions, not their appearance. He said that I had not hurt him, so I deserved kindness. She shook her head slowly. I had lived for 600 years by then. I had met kings and emperors. I had seen wonders that would break a human mind. But I had never met anyone like Samuel Hayes. What happened when you left? I kissed his forehead while he slept. I told him I would remember him forever. Then I returned to my people. Liana stood and walked to the window. She stared out at the stars. When I came home, my father was furious. He wanted to punish the clan that had attacked me. He wanted to destroy them. But I convinced him to show mercy. Samuel had taught me the value of forgiveness. And then, 50 years later, humanity left Earth. She turned to face them. The Zangori Council held a meeting. They wanted to discuss what to do about your species. Many of my people saw humans as a threat. They wanted to destroy you before you could become powerful. Ambassador Price leaned forward. You mean they wanted to wipe us out? Yes. Your species was aggressive and creative. You advanced faster than any species in recorded history. Many on the council thought you were too dangerous to let live. What stopped them? Liana raised her chin. I did. The room was silent. Daniel felt his heart beating fast. I told the council about Samuel Hayes, Liana said. I told them about the human who had shown mercy to a monster. I argued that a species capable of such kindness deserved a chance to prove themselves. Did they listen? Not at first. The debate lasted for months. But I would not give up. I invoked an ancient right. I staked my own honor on humanity's survival. I told the council that if humans proved to be the threat they feared, I would personally destroy your species. But if you proved worthy, I would protect you. Ambassador Price looked stunned. You risked everything for us? I risked everything because of Samuel Hayes, because a simple farmer had shown me that humans were more than they appeared. Liana walked back to her seat. She looked tired, as if telling the story had drained her. The vote passed by one margin. Humanity was allowed to survive. But I have been watching you ever since. For 200 years, I have tracked your progress. I have watched you grow from a single planet to dozens of colonies. I have seen you fight and fail and rise again. She looked at Daniel. And I have watched your family, the descendants of the man who saved my life. I knew where you were born. I knew when you joined the military. I knew when you were assigned to this summit. Daniel did not know what to say. The weight of her words pressed down on him. His entire species existed because his ancestor had been kind to a stranger. Why are you telling me this now? He asked. Liana's expression grew serious. Because the summit is not just about diplomacy. The Kreth Dominion is growing stronger. War is coming. And the Sangori Council will vote again. Vote on what? On whether to side with the Kreth or stand with the younger species. Some on the council want to join the Dominion. They think the younger races are too weak to survive what is coming. They want to be on the winning side. And if they vote to join the Kreth? Liana met his eyes. Then my protection of humanity ends. And your species will face extinction. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. How long do we have? Ambassador Price asked. 3 days, Liana said. The council will vote before the summit ends. And right now, the votes are not in your favor. Daniel stood. His hands were clenched at his sides. Then we have 3 days to change their minds. Liana looked at him. For a moment, she saw Samuel Hayes standing before her again. The same fire burned in his descendants' eyes. "Yes," she said. "We do." The next morning, Daniel met Liana in a private room away from the summit. Ambassador Price had arranged the meeting. She understood that something important was happening, something bigger than normal diplomacy. Liana sat across from Daniel at a small table. Without her royal robes, she looked almost human. But her silver eyes and pale skin reminded him of what she really was. "Tell me about the council," Daniel said. "Who are we trying to convince?" "There are 12 members," Liana explained. "My father is the High Blood King. He leads the council, but he does not often vote unless there is a tie. The other 11 members represent the great houses of our people." She drew a diagram on a piece of paper. 11 circles arranged in a half moon. 3 members already support humanity. They've watched your species grow. They respect your determination. She marked 3 circles with a small line. 3 members hate you. They see humans as dangerous animals that should be put down before they can cause harm. She marked 3 circles with an X. The remaining 5 are undecided. They will listen to arguments from both sides before they vote. Daniel studied the diagram. So we need to convince at least 3 of the undecided members. Correct. But it is not that simple. The members who oppose you have been working for months. They have gathered evidence. They have made deals. They are not stupid. What kind of evidence? Liana hesitated. Your species has a violent history. The wars you have fought against each other. The weapons you have built. The times you have killed millions of your own kind. Daniel could not deny it. Human history was written in blood. Wars had shaped their civilization as much as peace. They will show all of this to the undecided members, Liana continued. They will argue that humans cannot be trusted, that your aggression will eventually turn against the elder races. Is there nothing good they can see? Liana smiled slightly. That is the problem. They only see what they want to see. They look at humanity and see a threat. They do not see the kindness that Samuel showed me. They do not see the courage that built your civilization. Daniel leaned back in his chair. Then, we need to show them something they cannot ignore. What do you mean? The summit includes a military exhibition, right? Every species shows off their strength. Yes, it is tradition. A way for species to demonstrate their power without actually fighting. What if we do something different? What if we show them more than just our weapons? Liana tilted her head. Go on. Daniel had been thinking about this all night. He had barely slept. But an idea had formed in his mind, something that might work. The elder races see us as young and aggressive. They think we are nothing but warriors. But that is not the whole truth. Humans are more than soldiers. We are builders, creators, dreamers. He stood and walked to the window. Outside, ships from 100 worlds floated in the darkness. Our military exhibition should show all of that. Our history of war, yes, but also our history of healing. The times we destroyed ourselves and the times we rebuilt. The way we turn enemies into friends and battlefields into gardens. Liana considered his words. You want to appeal to their emotions, not their logic. I want to show them the truth about humanity. The whole truth. Not just the parts that scare them. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. It might work. The undecided members are not evil. They are afraid. If you can show them that humanity is worth protecting, they might change their votes. Will you help me? Liana looked at him. Her silver eyes were unreadable. I have spent 200 years protecting your species from a distance. Perhaps it is time I did something more direct. They spent the rest of the day planning. Liana explained the preferences of each undecided council member. She told Daniel what they valued, what they feared, what might convince them, House Vareth was led by an old warrior named Marcus Vareth. He respected strength above all else. He needed to see that humans could fight. House Silene was led by a scholar named Elena Silene. She valued knowledge and creativity. She needed to see that humans could create, not just destroy. House Coram was led by a priest named Victor Coram. He believed in ancient prophecies and spiritual signs. He needed to see that humans had purpose. House Draven was led by a politician named Helena Draven. She cared about power and influence. She needed to see that humans could be useful allies. House Theron was led by a philosopher named Alexander Theron. He valued wisdom and long-term thinking. He needed to see that humans could learn from their mistakes. 5 different people, Daniel said. 5 different approaches. The exhibition will be seen by all of them at once. You need a presentation that speaks to each of their values. Can it be done? Liana met his eyes. If anyone can do it, humans can. You are remarkably good at the impossible. They worked through the night. Daniel contacted the Terran fleet and requested specific materials. Ambassador Price pulled strings to get him more time on the exhibition schedule. Liana provided information about Sangori culture and what would impress the council. By morning, they had a plan, but there was still one problem. The members who oppose humanity, Daniel said. What will they do when they see what we are planning? Liana's expression darkened. Lord Cain Mordrith leads them. He's the head of House Mordrith, one of the oldest and most powerful houses. He has hated your species since you first left Earth. Why? Because he is afraid. Mordrith has ruled his territory for 5,000 years. He has never faced a real challenge. But humans grow stronger every decade. In another few centuries, you might rival even the Centauri. So he wants to destroy us while he still can. Yes, and he will do anything to make that happen. Daniel thought about this. He had faced enemies before. Human enemies who wanted him dead. But this was different. Mordrith was not just fighting Daniel. He was fighting all of humanity. What can he do to stop us? Many things. He could sabotage your exhibition. He could spread lies about your species. He could challenge you to a duel. Daniel raised an eyebrow. A duel? It is an old tradition. If a member of the council challenges someone, they must fight or lose their honor. Mordrith is one of the best fighters among our people. He has killed thousands in his lifetime, and if I refuse, then humanity looks weak. The undecided members will see you as cowards who cannot defend yourselves. Daniel understood. It was a trap. If he fought, he would probably die. If he refused, humanity would lose the vote. Then I will not refuse, he said quietly. Liana grabbed his arm. Her grip was strong, stronger than any human. Do not be foolish. Mordrith is 8,000 years old. He has been killing since before your species existed. You cannot defeat him. Maybe not. But I can show the council what humans are made of. She stared at him. Her silver eyes searched his face, looking for something. You would die for your species, she said. It was not a question. I would die to give them a chance. That is what soldiers do. Liana released his arm. She turned away, but not before Daniel saw something in her eyes. Pain. Old pain mixed with something new. Samuel said something like that once, she whispered. He said that a good man stands up for others, even when it costs him everything. He sounds like a wise man. He was. He was the wisest person I ever met. She turned back to face him. And I will not let his descendant throw away his life. You cannot protect me from everything. No, but I can give you a fighting chance. She extended her hand. A small vial appeared in her palm, filled with dark liquid. What is that? My blood, she said. If you drink it, you will be faster and stronger for a short time. Not enough to match a Sangori, but enough to survive longer than Mordrith expects. Daniel looked at the vial. Will it change me? No. The effects will fade after a day. You will still be human. He took the vial. It was warm in his hand, like it still contained living heat. Why are you helping me? He asked. I am just one human. You have an entire species to worry about. Liana was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. Because when I look at you, I see Samuel. I see the man who saved my life when he had no reason to. I see the kindness that your species is capable of. She reached out and touched his face, just as she had in the summit hall. And because I have spent 200 years trying to repay a debt that can never be repaid, protecting you is the closest I can come. Daniel felt something shift in his chest, a warmth that had nothing to do with the vial in his hand. Thank you, he said. Liana smiled. It was a real smile, not the cold expression she wore in public. Do not thank me yet. We still have to survive the next 2 days. She stepped back, and the moment passed. They were all eyes again, working toward a common goal. But something had changed between them. Something that neither of them was ready to name. The military exhibition was held in the station's largest arena. It was a massive space, big enough to hold a small city. Seats rose in tiers around the central floor, filled with representatives from every species at the summit. The Sangori Council sat in a special section near the top. 12 seats arranged in a curve. The High Blood King sat in the center, his ancient face showing no emotion. On either side of him, the other council members watched and waited. Daniel stood behind the stage with Ambassador Price and Liana. His heart was beating fast, but his hands were steady. He had faced death before. This was just another battle. Are you ready? Liana asked, as ready as I will ever be. The exhibition had been going on for hours. Species after species had demonstrated their military power. The Kreth had shown their massive warships and their armies of soldiers. The Volthani had displayed their energy weapons and force fields. The Sangori had demonstrated their terrifying speed and strength. Warriors who could cross the arena floor in the blink of an eye. Now it was humanity's turn. Remember the plan, Ambassador Price said. Show them who we really are. All of it. The good and the bad. Daniel nodded. He walked onto the stage. The arena fell silent. Thousands of eyes turned to look at him. He was one small human standing alone on a stage designed for armies. My name is Daniel Hayes, he said. His voice was carried by speakers throughout the arena. I am a commander in the Terran Defense Corps. I am here to show you what humanity is. He pressed a button on his wrist. The lights dimmed. A holographic display appeared above the stage. 300 years ago, my species had never left our home world. We looked at the stars and wondered what was out there. Today, we have colonies on 40 planets. We have ships that can cross the galaxy. We are here, standing among the elder races. The display showed images of Earth, blue oceans, green forests, white clouds, a beautiful world, small and fragile. But we did not get here easily. Our history is written in blood. The images changed. War, ancient battles with swords and spears, modern battles with guns and bombs, cities burning, bodies falling. The worst moments of human history played out above him. We have killed each other for land, for resources, for religion, for power. We have built weapons capable of destroying our entire world. We have come close to using them. The council members watched in silence. Daniel saw Lord Mordrith smiling. This was exactly what he wanted. Evidence of human violence. But Daniel was not finished. This is the part of humanity that the elder races see. This is the part that frightens them. And they are right to be frightened. Humans are dangerous. We are aggressive. We fight. He paused. But that is not all we are. The display changed again. A ruined city. Smoke rising from collapsed buildings. Bodies in the streets. This is Hiroshima. In 1945, we dropped a bomb on this city. 70,000 people died in seconds. It was one of the darkest moments in our history. The council members shifted in their seats. Even they seemed disturbed by the images. But look what happened next. The display showed the same city decades later. New buildings rose where rubble had been. Parks covered the scars. Children played in the streets. We rebuilt. The city that we destroyed became a symbol of peace. The people who had been our enemies became our friends. Today, Hiroshima is a thriving city in a nation that has not fought a war in centuries. More images appeared. Berlin, a wall dividing a city. People trying to escape. Guards shooting them down. This was Berlin. For decades, a wall divided this city. Families were separated. People were killed for trying to cross. The image changed. People standing on the wall, dancing, celebrating, tearing it down with their bare hands. One day, the wall came down. Former enemies embraced. A divided nation became whole again. Daniel walked across the stage, his voice growing stronger. This is what humans do. We fight, we destroy, but then we rebuild. We forgive. We learn. He showed them more. Wars that ended in friendship. Enemies that became allies. Battlefields that became memorials. Gardens planted where blood had been spilled. Every species in this room has a history of violence. Every species has committed atrocities. But how many can say they have truly learned from their mistakes? He pointed at the council section. The Sengori ruled unchallenged for 10,000 years. Have you ever been forced to rebuild after destroying yourselves? Have you ever had to forgive an enemy you hated? The council members stirred. Some looked angry. Others looked thoughtful. Humanity has faced extinction many times. By our own hands. By plague, by disaster. Every time, we have come back stronger. Not because we are powerful, but because we refuse to give up. The display showed the Terran fleet. Hundreds of ships hanging in space. Sleek and deadly. Yes, we have built weapons. Yes, we can fight. But that is not why we came to the stars. The image changed one final time. A human child looking up at the night sky. Wonder in her eyes. Dreams in her heart. We came because we wanted to see what was out there. We came because we hoped to meet others who shared our dreams. We came because we believe that the universe is big enough for all of us. Daniel stopped in the center of the stage. The Kreth Dominion wants you to choose sides. They offer power in exchange for brutality. They want to destroy everyone who stands in their way. He looked directly at the undecided council members. We offer something different. We offer partnership, friendship, a chance to build something together. Not an empire of fear, but an alliance of hope. His voice echoed through the silent arena. 200 years ago, one of your own was dying in a field on Earth. My ancestor found her. He could have run. He could have let her die. Instead, he gave her his own blood to save her life. He saw Liana watching him from the shadows. Her silver eyes were bright. Samuel Hayes was not a hero. He was just a farmer. A simple man who believed that kindness matters. He did not know that his choice would affect the fate of galaxies. He just knew that someone needed help. Daniel raised his chin. That is what humanity is. We are not perfect. We are not wise or ancient or powerful by your standards. But we believe that how you treat the weak says more about you than how you treat the strong. He bowed his head. Whatever you decide, I hope you will remember this. We came here in peace. We offer friendship. But if you choose to stand against us, he raised his head. His eyes were hard. Then you should know that humans do not surrender. We do not give up. We will fight until our last breath and beyond. Because that is who we are. The display faded. The lights returned to normal. Daniel stood alone on the stage. For a long moment, there was silence. Then someone started clapping. A single pair of hands in the vast arena. Daniel looked up and saw Elena Silene of House Silene, the scholar, applauding him. Another joined. Then another. Soon, dozens of species were applauding the human who had spoken from his heart. Not everyone was happy. Lord Mordreth sat with his arms crossed, his face twisted with anger. But the undecided council members were whispering among themselves. Some of them looked moved. Daniel walked off the stage. Ambassador Price grabbed his arm. "That was incredible," she said. "You might have actually changed their minds." Liana appeared beside them. Her expression was strange. Proud and sad at the same time. "You did well," she said quietly. Samuel would have been proud. Before Daniel could respond, a voice echoed through the arena. "Commander Daniel Hayes." Everyone turned. Lord Mordreth had risen from his seat. His red eyes burned with hatred. "I challenge you to a duel. Here, now, let us see if humans are as brave as you claim." The arena fell silent again. All eyes turned to Daniel. Liana stepped forward, but Daniel held up his hand. "I accept," he said. Mordreth smiled. It was the smile of a predator who had finally caught his prey. "Then prepare to die, human. Your species ends with you." Daniel looked at Liana. She pressed the vial into his hand. "Drink it," she whispered. "And fight like Samuel would have fought." He opened the vial and drank. The blood was warm and sweet. It tasted like fire. Then he walked back onto the stage to face an enemy 8,000 years old. Lord Mordreth descended from the council section like a shadow made solid. He was tall and thin, with bones that showed through his pale skin. His red eyes glowed with ancient hunger. He had killed thousands in his lifetime. To him, Daniel was just one more victim. The arena cleared around them. A space was made in the center of the floor. Traditional dueling ground. Daniel stood waiting. Liana's blood burned through his veins, making everything sharper. Colors were brighter. Sounds were clearer. He could feel his heart beating strong and steady, but he was still human. And Mordreth was still a monster. "Any last words, creature?" Mordreth asked. His voice dripped with contempt. "Just one question," Daniel said. "Why do you hate us so much?" Mordreth stopped. The question seemed to surprise him. "Because you are vermin," he said. "You breed. You spread. You consume everything in your path. In 1,000 years, you will outnumber us. In 2,000, you will threaten us. I am simply ending the problem before it begins. That is not hatred. That is fear." Mordreth's eyes narrowed. "I fear nothing. Then why are you so desperate to destroy us? If humans are really so weak and worthless, why not just ignore us?" The vampire lord did not answer. Instead, he attacked. Mordreth moved faster than any living thing Daniel had ever seen. One moment, he was standing still. The next, he was in front of Daniel, his clawed hand reaching for his throat. But Daniel was not where he had been. Liana's blood sang through him. His reflexes were faster than human. Not as fast as a Sangori, but fast enough to dodge. He rolled to the side as Mordreth's claws cut the air where his neck had been. The arena gasped. No human had ever dodged a Sanduri strike. Mordreth turned, surprise flickering in his red eyes. "Interesting. Someone gave you a gift." "A friend," Daniel said. "Humans have those." He drew his combat knife. It was a simple weapon, sharp steel with a polymer handle. Against a normal enemy, it would be deadly. Against Mordrith, it was almost useless. Daniel attacked. He knew he could not win a straight fight. Mordrith was faster and stronger. But humans have been fighting against impossible odds since the beginning. They had learned a few tricks. He fainted high, then went low. His knife slashed across Mordrith's leg, drawing a thin line of dark blood. The vampire lord hissed. He had not expected the human to land a blow at all. Lucky, Mordrith said. Skill, Daniel replied. Humans practice fighting. Every day. For years. We have to, because we are not born with claws and fangs. He attacked again. This time, Mordrith was ready. He caught Daniel's arm and squeezed. Bones creaked under the pressure. You cannot win, Mordrith said. You are just delaying the end. Daniel smiled through the pain. That is what humans do best. He headbutted Mordrith in the face. It was like headbutting a stone wall. Daniel's vision exploded with stars. But the blow surprised Mordrith enough that he loosened his grip. Daniel pulled free and stumbled back. Blood ran down his face. His arm throbbed with pain. But he was still standing. The council members leaned forward in their seats. This was not the quick execution they had expected. This human was fighting back. Mordrith attacked again and again. Each time, Daniel dodged or blocked or redirected. He took hits that should have killed him. But Liana's blood kept him moving, kept him fighting. Minute after minute passed. Daniel was bleeding from a dozen wounds. His body screamed for rest. But he refused to fall. Why? Mordrith demanded. He was angry now, frustrated that his prey would not die. Why do you keep fighting? You cannot win. Because giving up is not an option, Daniel said. His voice was ragged but strong. Because my people are watching. Because if I fall fighting. That is what humans do. He charged at Mordrith one more time. The vampire lord caught him easily, lifting him off the ground by his throat. Foolish creature, Mordrith said. Your defiance means nothing. When you are dead, I will destroy your species. Daniel looked into those red eyes. He saw hatred there, but he also saw something else. Fear. After 8,000 years, Mordrith had finally met an enemy he did not understand. You are wrong, Daniel whispered. My defiance means everything. He drove his knife into Mordrith's eye. The vampire lord screamed. He dropped Daniel and staggered back, clutching his face. Dark blood poured between his fingers. Daniel hit the ground hard. He could not move. His body had finally given out, but he had done what he set out to do. He had shown the council what humans were made of. Mordrith pulled the knife from his eye. The wound was already healing, but the pain and humiliation remained. You will die for that, he snarled. He raised his clawed hand for the killing blow. Stop. The voice echoed through the arena like thunder. Everyone froze. The High Blood King had risen from his seat. Liana's father, the ruler of the Sangori Empire. He descended from the council section, his ancient robes trailing behind him. Mordrith lowered his hand, but his red eyes still blazed with hatred. Your Majesty, this creature attacked me. I have the right to end him. You challenged him, the king said. He had the right to fight back. He stopped beside Daniel's broken body. He looked down at the human who had fought so hard against impossible odds. Commander Hayes, the king said. Can you hear me? Daniel forced his eyes open. Yes, you fought well. Better than any human I have ever seen. But you know you cannot win this fight. I know. Then why did you accept the challenge? Daniel coughed. Blood spattered his lips. Because if I had refused, humanity would have looked weak. The council would have voted against us. My people would have died. He met the king's eyes. I am one man. My life means nothing compared to billions. If my death gives my species a chance, then it is worth it." The king was silent for a long moment. Then he turned to face the council. 200 years ago, my daughter told me about a human farmer who saved her life. She said that humans were capable of kindness that we had forgotten. I did not believe her. He gestured at Daniel's broken body. I was wrong. This man accepted certain death to protect his people. He fought an enemy he could not defeat. He took wounds that would have killed any other human. And he never gave up. His voice grew stronger. This is not the behavior of vermin. This is the behavior of a warrior. A true warrior who fights not for glory or power, but for those he loves. He turned to Lord Mordrith. You wanted to prove that humans are dangerous. You have, but not in the way you intended. You have shown us that they will fight to the death for their people, that they will never surrender, that they are worthy allies. Mordrith's face twisted with rage. You cannot be serious. They are animals. They are survivors, just as we once were, before we grew comfortable in our power. The king raised his hand. I call for the vote, now, here, before this warrior dies. The council members shifted in their seats. One by one, they cast their votes. House Vereth voted for humanity. Marcus Vereth had seen a true warrior. House Silene voted for humanity. Elena Selene had seen creativity and determination. House Coram voted for humanity. Victor Coram had seen purpose and sacrifice. House Draven voted for humanity. Helena Draven had seen a valuable ally. House Theron voted for humanity. Alexander Theron had seen wisdom in Daniel's choice. The undecided had decided. All five had voted for the humans. Lord Mordrith and his allies voted against. But they were outnumbered. The final count was 8-4. Humanity had won. The king looked down at Daniel. Commander Hayes, your people will live. The Zanguri will stand with humanity against the Kreth Dominion. Daniel smiled through the blood. Thank you. Then his eyes closed and darkness took him. When Daniel woke, he was in a medical bay. His wounds had been treated. His body was weak, but whole. Liana sat beside his bed. She had been crying. He could see the tracks on her pale cheeks. You almost died, she said. Again. But I did not. No, you did not. She took his hand. Her fingers were cold, but her grip was gentle. You saved your species. Samuel would be proud. Daniel squeezed her hand. What happens now? Now we prepare for war. The Kreth will not be happy that the Sanguri sided with the younger races. There will be battles ahead. And us? Liana looked at him. Her silver eyes were soft, softer than he had ever seen them. I have spent 200 years watching your family from a distance. I think it is time I stopped watching. Daniel smiled. Is that a proposal? It is an offer. To fight beside you. To protect your people as I should have done long ago. To be more than a distant guardian. She leaned closer. Samuel Hayes saved my life. His descendants saved his entire species. The blood debt is paid. But I find that I do not want to leave. Daniel reached up and touched her face. Then stay, Liana smiled. For the first time in 200 years, she looked truly happy. Above them, the stars shone with ancient light. They were the same stars that Samuel Hayes had looked at from his farm in Kansas. The same stars that his descendants had reached across generations of struggle and sacrifice. Humanity had earned its place among them, not through power or conquest, but through kindness and courage. Through the simple belief that everyone deserves a chance to live. Even monsters thought, especially monsters. And somewhere, in whatever afterlife existed, a simple farmer named Samuel Hayes was smiling. His faith in humanity had been justified. His kindness had echoed across centuries. Sometimes, the smallest acts of compassion changed the course of history. And sometimes, A single human can make all the difference in the universe. The end.